Hello, everyone. I'm Sharat Chandra, and I'm delighted to be hosting this conversation today. We have with us two very eminent speakers. It is indeed an honor to introduce Mr. Anupam Jalote, CEO of iCreate, one of India's premier technology business incubators. Anupam has worked with top corporates as well as innovative startups, over 15 years in telecom with companies like Escotel, BSNL, and Airtel have given him leadership experience with national as well as international teams, along with board level exposure. And over 12 years in his twin startups has given him a hands-on granular understanding of the reality of startups in India and the challenges that they face. The companies that he promoted have been involved in control systems and waste to energy. He holds an MBA degree from Purdue University. He's passionate about putting India on the global map of developing low-cost, innovative technologies that help heal the earth. It is also my pleasure today to have the opportunity to introduce Mike Orgill, Senior Director of Public Policy and Government Relations, Asia Pacific for Uber. Mike is responsible for working with governments, policymakers, and third parties to create a positive case for change and a favorable environment for Uber's innovations in mobility, delivery, and beyond. Prior to joining Uber, Mike was at Airbnb, where he held roles as General Manager for Southeast Asia, Hong Kong and Taiwan, where he led Airbnb's business and operations and as Director of Public Policy for the Asia Pacific region. Before joining Airbnb, Mike led Google's public policy efforts for emerging markets in Asia, covering a wide range of internet policy issues, and worked at the US ASEAN Business Council in Washington, DC, where he represented leading US investors in Southeast Asia on complex trade and investment issues across a variety of industries. Mike is a graduate of Stanford University. With that, I now hand it over to Mike to take this discussion forward.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sharat and Anupam. Great to see you. Really excited about this partnership. And I thought maybe I'd take a minute or two to give a little bit of context for why Uber is involved in this partnership. The first is that India has become an incredibly vibrant place for startups. Oftentimes, we look at the US and China as leading startup ecosystems, but really interestingly, India has raced ahead. In fact, if you look at just last year alone, India was adding 3 unicorns every month, taking the total count to about 51, which is ahead of Germany and the UK. India's incredible tech talent, innovation, and unique environment, I believe, lead to such a vibrant ecosystem. The second major thing that comes to mind for me at this time is around Uber sustainability commitments. As we look at the service that we provide and the way that people are traveling, the way that people are delivering, we believe that shared, electric, multimodal, and inclusive mobility are going to be able to deliver outsized environmental benefits to cities and help meet critical economic, climate, and electrification goals. One of the key things that needs to be done in this context is to really transition vehicles to become electric vehicles. EVs are imperative to reducing emissions in the transport sector and to achieving energy security. There are, unfortunately, a number of challenges which basically prevent us from seeing the uptake of EVs in places like India. The models are expensive. People are worried about range. Can this vehicle go far enough? Is there enough charging infrastructure? Just some of the different obstacles that we face. But I'm quite optimistic because I believe that startups are going to be incredibly successful in helping tackle this really important issue around electrification and bringing more EVs online in order to solve some of the major sustainability and mobility challenges that are faced in India. Anupam, it's thrilling to be with you, and I thought maybe we could start with a question. I'm curious from your vantage point and iCreate, what's been your experience working with EV startups as an incubator?
Thanks a lot, Mike. It's fascinating the commitment that you and Uber are bringing towards sustainability, and the powerful agent of change that you've become. So it's really very, very appreciable. Working with EV startups, I'll take one little step back and say that iCreate worries about helping create knowledge, fundamental knowledge. Because if you look at it at a level of abstraction, what we see is that most of the time EV vehicles are a Lego brick play. People import subcomponents from all over the world, plug them together, and voila, you have an electric vehicle. That, to my mind, is not really sustainable, environmentally sustainable or business-wise sustainable. So seeing the sheer size of the Indian market and also the size of the talent in India, it seems very reasonable that if you were able to create some knowledge which is appropriate for the country, you'd also be able to help other countries on the path. So how do you address the 2 points that you brought out, range anxiety, charging infrastructure, price points of vehicles, and how do you make it more affordable, right? So that happens when the technology starts getting created in India itself. So what iCreate's been doing over the past 2-3 years is focusing on subcomponents, the motors and the controllers that would go into the EV, the battery and the battery management system, which would understand the climatic conditions and the driving conditions in India, and then optimize for them, an overall vehicle intelligence system that would help bring out efficiencies between controllers and battery management systems, and disparate charging infrastructure. And of course, low cost, very myriad variety of charging infrastructure, so that the small store in the village can also be a charging place. So all of those things are what truly excite us. And what's lovely to see is that innovators are getting very, very excited. Initially, we saw everybody wanting to make an EV. So from cars to motorcycles to scooties to bicycles to three-wheelers. And now people are beginning to peel the layers and say, all right, we want to make a better motor, or we want to make a more efficient controller. And so we see the magic beginning to start now. And yeah, and I was wondering, what is it that you specifically would like to see happen? Now, you were a startup, then you became a stellar unicorn, and now, of course, you can't even be called a unicorn. And you're, like I said, an agent of change. So what would you like to see happen in India and in the EV space?
Yeah, well, you similarly have that experience of working at different stages of companies, and you know just how challenging it is to go from idea and inception to scale. What I think is really interesting about India is just, as you say, you have such a great need, but you also have the ingenuity that's able to tackle the locally relevant challenges that are so important. As I think about the role that Uber plays and corporates like us can play, is that we've been through some of these issues of growing a business, scaling, making mistakes along the way to figure out how to take an idea from something small to something big and scalable. It certainly is challenging for any innovator or startup to try to understand how to be a leader, a manager, HR, legal, every aspect of running a business. And one of the really great things is that Uber has that experience. It has the teams and the depth to be able to work with startups to really coach and mentor them through that process. How do you grow a business overall? What are the different things you need to be thinking about? Everything from small essentials to the larger philosophy that a business needs to set up. In terms of what I'd like to see, I think I'm really excited about the opportunity to work with iCreate and incubators more broadly, because it really opens up opportunities for startups. You can benefit from the mentorship and experience of companies like Uber, but also get that hands-on guidance that incubators are so good at providing. And iCreate obviously has such a strong track record of working with startups. You're specialists in the space. You can streamline the efforts and also help us really figure out how to tap into big corporates. I'm curious, as we go down this partnership, as you look at the way that iCreate and Uber work together, but also maybe more broadly the way that incubators and corporates work together, what would you like to see that would help strengthen the broader startup ecosystem?
Oh, lovely. So first, I hear you when you say that it takes a lot to convert an innovative idea into a high growth business. And I love the fact because we keep telling our folks that how do you build a growth company? What kind of team? What kind of cultural philosophy? What kind of money? I mean, money is a small enabler. But to answer your direct question, what would we see like from the Uber relationship? And for every startup, three things become super critical. And one of the most important is the psychological support that comes from just oversight. It's not even a committed trial or a proof of concept. It's that somebody is looking at what I'm doing, somebody who's a serious player in the industry, and then kind of guiding me on the right path. And if I am able to really do something which is sensible and worthwhile and can unlock value, then they're going to take me to a field trial stage and perhaps beyond. At the early stage startups where we operate, and when iCreate focuses on the knowledge play, then you become really early stage, right? You're at the idea to POC stage and then the POC to early market stage. And we're very excited about what Uber thinks it would like to do and what we feel Uber can do in this space. Startups generally worry a lot about money, and both you and I, we realize that money is a very small part of the enablement. It's more a hygiene factor than anything else. And as iCreate focuses on the tech piece and the organization build piece, we'd be delighted if we have access to some of the mentors who look at the nuts and bolts of building the business piece. That look, guys, this is how, if you tweak your thoughts and your model, it's got the power to really be more impactful. And if you're impactful, you're going to be successful. So I see a deeper engagement on the mentorship side, on your folks actually committing a little bit of time, maybe an hour a week or something over a period of time, that engage with the startups. And that enables the magic to start to happen. That's one of the things. And the other, of course, is that I know you've got access to the smartest minds in the world, but so do we. So, so if there are some things that you'd like to explore, to try to bring into reality over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, throw the challenge to us, and we'll in turn invite some of the sharp minds to start working on it. So you get some tech dev done for you.
Love it. I love it. I'm curious. There's a number of startups that are moving into the pitching stage of the competition here, and you've seen, I imagine, a number of startup pitches in your time. What advice would you give to startups? What should they be focusing on during their pitches?
Value. What problem have you solved? What value are you bringing to your potential customer? If that is sharply defined, everything else falls into place. It's not about clever technology. It's not about how smart you are. It's not about what you feel about the universe at large. It's simply about what value are you going to give to your user, your paying user, and just bring that out sharply, simply. And from there, the whole edifice builds up. I would say that's the building block of anything that we all look for. How would you add to that? I mean, what's your take? I mean, it's not. What do you like to see in a project?
I really like your answer, because I think it's exactly right. Is having something crisp that's easy to understand. Why is someone really going to spend their time, energy, money on this thing? What's the value that you're adding?
Yeah.
There's too many pitch decks that are full of lofty revenue projections that scale out 8 years and will be a unicorn, without really thinking through the nuts and bolts of what is this service really going to provide. And I think that's really the exciting part, is why is this a solution that is unique? What's the problem that you're solving? Why is it needed? And then it's easy to get excited about it. But I love your answer about value there.
I had a small question, and in Uber's strategy in the connected space, EV space, what role do you think 2 and 3 wheelers have to play in a country like India? Because the 4-wheelers are a very, very complex beast, and it takes time and money to have the whole ecosystem come into place. But what we're seeing on the ground is the 2 and 3-wheeler adoption. We're a world leader in 3-wheelers already, and 2-wheelers are catching up very fast. And we're kind of thinking that, do you see this as an opportunity area for Uber dev space for you?
Oh, absolutely. You think about so many countries around the world that have only moved into the 4-wheel space. And you think about, you drive down a crowded highway, whether it be in Germany, the United States, or China, and you just see car after car sitting there with large engines and just one person sitting in there. And you think, is this really the best use of space and capacity? You're able to have in places like India this adoption of 2 and 3-wheelers that are able to be lighter on the overall infrastructure. And if you're able to get ahead and think how can we electrify this type of service, not only are we taking reducing emissions, but also we're putting a lighter load on the overall infrastructure. And so for Uber, we're certainly excited about the 2 and 3-wheel opportunity in India and beyond, and would love to see more innovation come out of India, because I do believe that it could really be the epicenter of innovation in the space.
I'm going to take that as a rallying cry for our folks, and I'm going to say that Mike from Uber says, do this. It's going to be good for you, and it's going to be good for the planet.
Absolutely, absolutely.
No, brilliant. I mean, I am so looking forward to deeper engagement, because like you said, if you've succeeded, there's a lot of insights that you can share with people who are on the journey up, and it's actually a very nice pay forward strategy, philosophy, if you will, that you want to reach out a helping hand to others and mentor them and get them to get there. And along with your sustainability goal, I think as iCreate, we are very excited, because we'd like the simple statement from the Prime Minister was, use innovation to make an impact on the people and industry of India. And that's what iCreate is all about. So I think we're going to very much enjoy working together with you.
Love it. Looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Sharad?
Thank you, Anupam. Thank you, Mike. I think those were extremely insightful points that were raised during this conversation. Thank you very much to both of you for your time today. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Great to meet you, Anupam.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.